VC Fluency number 3. If you recall, in the last lecture, we covered VC roles and responsibilities, VC archetypes, and VC salaries and carry. That provides some context. Now we're going to talk about how to engage VCs. So first up is firm archetypes, 2 is know before you go, and 3 is vibing with VCs. In terms of the framework of getting a deal done, I think of it in 3 steps. There's a qualifying the VCs, building rapport with VCs, and then running a process with VCs and building FOMO. Negotiating the terms is considered out of the context of this course and is something I'm happy to chat about one-on-one. So in terms of the VC firm archetypes, I really see in 3 different segments. There's the hustlers, which are micro VCs, typically less than 50 million. And really, their job is to source the best deals and to get into them. On the other side of the spectrum are the larger VC funds, Ivy League, some might say. These VCs often have been in existence for many, many of years. Bessemer is part of Bessemer Steel Trust, one of the old money of America. And oftentimes they have a very different job than the hustler VCs because everyone wants their money. So it is very much finding the best and brightest deals. And they have the ability to write checks at higher valuations. In the middle is niche VC bucket. I use it as a little bit of a catch-all. So similar to the other 2 buckets, there are different subsegments in this. One is like sourcing, like betting is part of the job. There's a few VC funds that do more of this pure follow-on or checklist, often requiring a top fund to be in before they can even write a check. There's other funds like Outlander and Go Ahead, which bet very early. And again, are pure sourcing. There's more of the corporate state VCs, which oftentimes they need to have some sort of like requirement, whether it's in state, payer VCs or provider VCs often require that a startup has an ongoing deal or is worth pursuing a deal within that organization. And there's also impact VCs, which again can vary, but typically have some sort of world-changing mission and do have some specific criteria before they invest. Before you go, there's a few things you should know, and this is largely stuff you can do through secondary research. So 1 is fund size, 2 is stage of investment, 3 is thesis and verticals, 4 is check size. They are often readable through looking at websites, and you make sure before you approach them that like your deal is worthy of consideration based off their track record. In a first conversation in back channel, there are other things you should be asked about. Check size is something that is probably best addressed through a conversation. Sometimes you might have public information, or you can look at a track record of prior deals. Leading versus following. This is also something you may be able to discern online, but often it's best to ask them directly. And conflicts of interest, always something you should be asking about to see if they have a deal in their portfolio that is in similar space as yours and making sure that there are no conflicts. And some VCs do invest in multiple companies in a sector, but oftentimes it's best for a VC to, or my opinion is the best of the VC is only focused on one company within a certain sector. Really, really important thing to do, founder, investor, operator, anyone involved in the startup and venture world is to create a CRM, your networking list. Here's one I have in Notion. I also recommend Google Sheets as well. That was my first CRM. And, pretty simple: name, email, LinkedIn, what they're about is. I like adding tags in order to search my own database a bit more easily. A location. For every conversation, I take Google Notes, which you now can do on Fireflies or AI automated note takers. And also just important metrics such as check size, areas of interest, and fund size as well. I recommend Betty Chang's 10 Lessons to Learn About Fundraising Ops for a deeper dive on this topic. A few other hints, as I mentioned before, take notes. Google Documents are your friend. Very easy to pull up a Google Doc, continue writing notes from any computer. When meeting VCs, definitely over-index on warm intros and really think about who is introing you. A founder in the portfolio is often strongest. Any founder is strong. VC is decently strong, and an operator that met them once at happy hour not as strong. And there are some superpower nodes out there that really know a lot of people in the ecosystem. I am sort of one of them. Do feel free to leverage them, but really be mindful of their time and make it really easy using a template, a 3 to 5 sentence email that they can just pass along to their contact. Again, directly ask about conflicts. Some VCs may not mention it, but if you ask them directly, they won't lie about it either. And lastly, and I think most importantly, always be back-channeling with everyone's reputation about everyone's fund. Some VCs aren't even actively investing, but pretend they are. So if any VC seems to be heating up, please back-channel with your peers and mentors about that VC. Next up is thinking about building rapport with VCs. So a few comments on the VC lifestyles. Being a VC is a ton of fun, but it is still a job and it's a ton of work. While you might be on the phone 6 to 8 hours a day with the best and brightest founders and other VCs, it does feel like an overwhelming amount of work. Could be hundreds of emails per day. So when you communicate with them, think about timing. Avoid holidays, Mondays, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays after lunch are in their best. Also, when VCs communicate about you, they tend to use one bullet. So I advise you to feed your one bullet. You're a Stripe for healthcare, X for Y. Make it easy for them to explain your business to someone else. Keep in mind that it's their job to know trends and what's interesting. So when you talk to them, bring some content, bring something interesting. They're not a consultant. They're not just looking to see if they can get along with you. Talk about the new primary care first model. Talk about the new dementia guide model. Bring something to the table. Also, keep in mind that VC to VC gossip is very real. Be wary of what you share. VCs do trade information of each other in order to stay relevant. And also be interesting, demonstrate utility, mention some biotech paper you did in college or some area of deep dive. So even if they don't invest in you, you want them to want to talk to you. Keep in mind, VCs are always evaluating you. So be careful when you interact with them, especially the first conversation. For your first conversation, your goal should be another conversation. So I always recommend prioritize being likable, but also intelligent in your first conversation. Things don't get serious until often the second or third conversation. If you don't get through your entire pitch in the first conversation, you should get through most of it, though. Great. That's an excuse to schedule more time. If you can get into VC's iMessage or WhatsApp, I do consider texting to be the real VC CRM. When I worked in VC, I spent more time on iMessage than an email, especially when communicating to other VCs. And really try to mention your superpowers. Have your friend do it. And as I mentioned, VCs are always validating you. So be fun, but also be mature. Don't have them have a data point that can be used against you. I was alluding to this earlier, but when you're interacting with VCs, be smartly collaboratively. One of my favorite sayings is ask for money, get advice, or ask for advice, get money. It is a smart thing to warm up VCs before you even think about raising a round, and just talk about things interesting to you, to them, relevant to your business. Here are some examples. Payment model innovation, one of my favorites. Ask them, what's going on, especially if you're working on something relevant to that space. Current healthcare news, use different letters, out-of-pocket health tech nerds, and see people's hot takes, build your own, talk to them about it. I'm even more business oriented. I think it's appropriate to ask about, how a VC would think about go-to-market based off their portfolio companies, maybe even pricing. Customers and partners, and also general helpfulness. The cliche in the VC world is them saying, how can I be helpful? But turn it around on them. Especially if you come from differentiated network, whether it be the university, specific areas of the corporate world, there are some introductions to your network that could be helpful to the VC, and they will thank you for it. Lastly, how VCs can be helpful. I think the biggest thing is brand awareness. Often companies that are doing well may still want VC money just so they have more reputation in the space, since at the earliest stages, a VC's reputation outweighs yours and might be what other people index your company's reputation on. Introductions, first customers, helpful advisors, positive references. This includes like hiring for the team. Often VCs are very involved in team hiring at the earliest stages. Helping plan and drive a fundraising process, another common thing that VCs do, since VCs want to brag about how their portfolio companies got up rounds with great investors. So it's aligned incentives for them to get other great investors into subsequent rounds. VCs also have a good pulse on competitive intel, comparables, KPIs, metrics, and other companies' decks is something that may be shared. And also, I've seen more than a few times associates on the VC side come in at a startup for a part-time strategy and ops person. And that's it for today for VC Fluency number 3.